No, it's on now. It's
Oh, is it?
working. Yeah. Just my connection was really bad apparently.
I'm still getting. Yep. All right.
Yeah,
You
we're
go.
online now.
All right. Off you go
Cool.
again, EG.
Okay, welcome to episode 37 of the Clutch Kick. As Greg mentioned before, it's getting close to my age apparently. Which direction, I don't know if it's getting closer or further.
I'm pretty sure it's getting closer.
Alright. Okay, so I'm one of your hosts, EG, and also hosting is Gerg Merriman.
Yeah, the very depressed Go Merrittman.
And at the moment we have Steve trying to set up his camera as our would he be our guest or another co-host for tonight?
Yeah, he's sort of a co-host for tonight with our wrap-up on World Time Attack Challenge.
Yeah.
Hi guys, no one wants.
Nope, I've got no internet again. Fuck.
Oh.
This is just me sitting here with internet.
Yeah. That's about as much information as I've got at this stage.
Am I back?
Yeah, so my plan is if I do end up having to fully rebuild, I might actually end up building a JZ car if I can make it happen. Probably not a 13, I'd like to keep a 14 because then at least I can keep my shirts. And yeah, and I have doors, spare doors and a few other bits and pieces. So currently I've got a front bar, a rear bar that they dumped off the car, a side skirt. I have two doors that I had bought spare. I have two front wheels because that are mismatched. GTR shafts and hubs, but no diff in one piece. And I think that's about it. I have a Z32 gearbox. So yeah, that's where I'm at currently. And yeah, so hopefully go rotary, attract good sponsorship. Yeah, I am not going rotary. The wraps are good, but not really what I'm into. It's not 2006 anymore, Rob. So yeah, hopefully if more information comes to light in the next couple of days, I can, yeah, get that up and be a little bit more public about it all. But at this stage, yeah, just sit tight and wait and see what comes of it. Yeah. Right. So, what do you want to start off with? What the hell are you doing, mate? You're just sitting there looking at your bloody...
I don't even know if I'm online. I just asked the question.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, okay. Cool. Alright, well... stupid internet. Anyway, one day we'll get internet in Canberra.
One day you get internet in Canberra.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll have a good Prime Minister in Canberra too.
I think it's more a case of one that lasts longer than 6 months.
Oh, yeah, sounds like one of my motors.
Okay, so what should we cover first? The event that we were at or the event we weren't at?
Let's start World Time Attack Challenge. Let's go World Time Attack Challenge.
Okay, so this should be a fairly decent long talk, I guess.
Yeah, so World Time Attack Challenge was the weekend just past. We got our highest viewership, 99 people. It didn't make it to 100 when I checked the stats for Thursday practice. I went out there on Thursday and froze my absolute gonads off watching practice, but ended up being a great event. The event seems to go from strength to strength a little bit more each year. I think this has been I would have to say the least clusterfucky year. As much as we'll cover some stuff that was probably less than ideal. The smoothness of the event, yeah, the new format, everything, yeah, pretty interesting, and yeah, it really did go off without a hitch. So Thursday practice, there was a few unfortunate events. The first car that was rolling out onto track was Fanger Dan Woolhouse. And so the guys were being pitted at the far end of the skid pan at Sydney Motorsport Park. So if anybody knows the area or looked at it on Google Maps, it's the end closest towards the drift circuit, the circuit that they were drifting. And there's a return road that sort of links the front straight and the scrutineering sheds back to just between turn 3 and turn 4. And Fanger Dan was in a left-hand drive car and didn't notice that on the right-hand side there was a low-lying wall. And as he started to punch it out of the pit area, he's actually just drilled the wall with the front right side of the car and made a mess of a lot of parts.
That was into the burnout box, from what I heard. Was that right?
No, not even. He hadn't even. He
really?
literally had not. He had
he's
not made it out of.
On the way
He
to
was-
the burnout area.
Not even yet. He
No.
hadn't even made it to track edge. He hadn't even
Oh.
made it to track edge yet. He punched the edge of the wall that he was on the inside of the track wall side. Like that's where an official and stuff would stand. Like you wouldn't have a race car on that side. So he was leaving the pits and punched a wall there.
Yeah,
So,
shit. He did a bit of damage from the photos I saw.
Yeah, it was not. Yeah, it definitely wasn't good, and yeah, that delayed the start of practice, and they ended up passing a petition around at drivers' briefing on the Saturday to amend the rules to allow Fanger to jump into Carl Thompson's NASCAR-powered NASCAR-powered S15, the Falcon S15, and that got passed through to allow him to drive. So that was one big incident, and then on Thursday also, Connor Shanahan had a bit of an unfortunate event in a brand new car. He was on his second out lap. Car didn't sound right on entry, and it blew a radiator hose off a fitting, and sprayed him with hot coolant. And for anybody who's seen the footage and has made past judgment and why the hell did he jump out of the car, so when Connor was, what the hell is Steve doing, mate? Can you stop fapping in the background? So Connor was actually involved in a fire a couple of years ago and actually ended up with some pretty severe burns from it. And so when he felt the heat and saw the steam, he automatically thought the car was on fire, and he did his best to get out of there as quickly as possible. And he ended up jumping up out of it and tried to pull it out of gear, but yanked the handbrake. That's why, for anybody who's seen the footage or goes back and looks at the footage, the car stops suddenly and then starts to roll off again because he just yanked on the handbrake thinking he was pulling it out of gear. And so he rolled out of the car over the door, and the car continued on its merry way and ended up coming to rest after slamming the concrete wall. And yeah, so a lot of shit was spoken online. Look, there was a less than ideal setup for that radiator that people, even the owner of the car, was unaware of, and it let go. There was no fault of the fabricator or anything like that. It was just an oversight on a couple of people's behalves, and yeah, sadly it led to a 16-year-old kid. So some of the videos and stuff, yeah, people were a bit over top. Connor's taken it on the chin pretty good after having a chat with him, but yeah, I think people have got to remember that he's 16, still classified as a child, so that sort of shit is a bit dumb. But he's okay, thank God. He had some gel bandages and stuff on his back on Thursday night, but he was good to go. They ended up getting a replacement car. He ended up driving on Saturday the Valino S 180 with just a basic LS in it. So yeah, that was Thursday practice. A lot of guys were looking pretty good Thursday practice. Some of my big notables were Anthony Billick looked great in his new turbo setup. Was out there absolutely killing it, and I did make fun of him in the live stream, saying there's a good chance he's on Bob Jane secondhand tires that he's stolen off a pile somewhere, and he was indeed on secondhand semi-slicks. He did confirm that with me on Friday morning. Nathan Greenhill, who just joined the stream, if you're still here, looked absolutely killer in his new S15. I would say that has to be one of the best built S15s or S chassis in this country. The car looks great. I think you went and had a look at it as well, didn't you, EG?
Yeah, I did.
And
It was very, very fresh.
yeah, it's a beautifully done car. There's just so many smart little things done to that car. You sort of look at the back, and a few people are like, oh, dry sump setup's a little bit far back if he tags the wall and stuff, but then you look a little bit deeper into it, and there's 3 layers of crash protection between that point and the back of the car. And just little things like that, things that you don't think are there, and then you look deeper into it, and there's crash bars that are hidden behind rear bars and sort of crumple zones and things like that. It's definitely a cool car, and I think he's just got to get a handle on some chase runs. I think that ended up being his biggest issue over the weekend, just not knowing the car as well as he knew his R32. But yeah, for the first couple of laps out in a totally different chassis, with knowing that he had poured his life savings into that car, it seems like. So he looked great. And then, yeah, the WA guys for me looked great when they first hit the track. So I thought that was going to mess up my pool guesses, because the WA guys were definitely on point as soon as they got out there. One of them messed up one of my guesses. But yeah, overall Thursday practice seemed to go pretty well. Just the 2 incidences, and then it was all pretty clean from then on. Just very cold. And yeah, for people who were like, oh, my camera's not that great, not that close. Man, I was doing it off a phone, and it was free. So stop your complaining.
People like to complain. It's easy to complain rather than do something.
Yeah, they weren't the ones out there with losing their bloody fingers. And then, yeah, so rolled into competition on Friday. Friday competition, they were given limited time. So after attending driver's briefing and understanding a little bit more of what was going on, so basically they were given a deadline till 7 p.m. That's all they could. They weren't going to run over that. As soon as 7 p.m. rolled around, that was it. Off track, done for the day, and then they'd pick it up for Saturday. So I'm pretty sure they were just trying to get a little bit done, so that then they could put the best show possible as they could on Saturday. So they ended up pushing practice a little bit earlier, but not everybody ended up with the 2 laps that they were supposed to. I ended up spotting for Matt Harvey, and he only got 1 lap and then put out 1 battle. So what ended up happening was they were pushing their way through the pool rounds, and the front half of the tree got to do 2 battles, and the back half of the tree did 1 battle, and then on Saturday they continued from the second half of the tree. I attended driver's briefing on Friday. And so originally Dan Mackey and Brendan, the other judge, had decided on a line using sort of like what you guys would have seen from the live stream where the cones were. They had done an outside zone on turn 1, and then sort of mid-track transition in a clip on turn 2, push out wide, and then a slight in a zone, and then back out wide again. But after speaking to Suchia, who didn't come to driver's briefing because he was out driving Bo Yates' AE86, they ended up deciding to do an inside line on turn 1, and then fast transition through turn 2 on the inside line, and then basically how it'd been left for the rest of the track. And yeah, there was a little bit of conjecture about it. And
When did that
Yeah.
happen? When did that change
So-
come to effect?
it had so my understanding is that, so looking at what the other guys had already done, they had done a nice printout of the track map,
Yeah, I saw that.
and
That was
had,
handed
like,
out
all
to the
clips.
drivers, wasn't it? There was paperwork
Yeah,
as
I
well.
think it was emailed to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So the paperwork that was handed out, I think, was the amended version
Oh, okay.
at that drivers briefing. But the original stuff that was emailed, and the nice CAD drawing and stuff that Dan had done, was the line that they originally had planned on running. So yeah,
That's all right.
yeah.
I don't think it was
that
that
seemed to
different,
happen.
was it? It was just only that. It was only that one inside, and then they added a barrel or something. Is that right?
Yeah. So they put a barrel on the inside to mark that inside zone on the first corner, and there was a lot of weight put on that corner that we ended up finding out, because originally people didn't think there was going to be all that much weight on it, but it seemed like people were losing battles or getting draws based off people being able to cut that inside line. So yeah, it was interesting, and I did take note of the fact that it didn't seem like the other two judges were all that happy with what they were having to say the criteria was.
Yeah.
And they sort of went with,
Why do you think that was? Because I've got my. I know when Tsuchiya came 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure it was, he did. So I'm not going to say the same thing, but it's something similar where he.
2 years ago, it was the same as last year. That was last year. That was
No, like the time when he was drunk and sort of. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's the same points, but at that point he changed the. Sorry, at that time he changed the clips and what he was scoring on while he was judging, not beforehand, so the drivers didn't even know.
Yeah, that was the last 2 years. No, this one was good because Brendan and Dan stuck to what they had said, which was good. And
You mean
yeah, I think
that they printed out, or
no. So what Suchiya said is the criteria.
Yeah.
I felt personally that Brendan and Dan did a really good job of sticking to that criteria.
Oh,
To
okay.
me, there was a few questionable calls on whether or not people had put all their wheels out of bounds on that little straightaway, but that was still them judging it the way it had been. Where the year previous, when people started running super wide, there was nothing done about it. There were people getting away with it.
Yeah. Okay. So it was better.
Yeah,
so it's improving.
Yeah, like, again, not the ideal driving line, but that criteria was actually stuck with throughout the entire event, which is all you can ask for. It might be a shitty criteria, but as long as what you've asked for has stayed, that's you can drive to that.
I still think it's the same as Minami. Like, I keep looking at it and the way that he set the criteria, even though some people can't see, if you stretch and skew it, then sort of, where they've got the two inside clips, the first and second, that's the sort of tight S's before the jump on Minami, and that's straight, so the yellow line where they weren't meant to get the two wheels off. Sorry, not the two front wheels off. That's the wall, and then the tight inside is just the the turnaround going up the hill at Minami. That's the way I see it as, and that's the way I think Tsuchiya sees it as. Like, he's trying to replicate something similar, but it's sort of stretched and skewed. And I mentioned that to people, and it was pretty good, I thought. But
I think people's biggest concern, honestly, when it was originally said, was purely the lead driver cutting off the chase driver in the first corner. I think that was people's biggest concern.
Yeah.
And the fact that the lead car had to cut across the chase car to get to that position. A few other people also questioned why. So your traditional way of starting a chicane is you start the cars close together, and the lead car that goes through the chicane cuts towards the outside of the track. but at this track, the lead car started on the outside of the track and cut towards the middle of the track. And the reason that was done was because Sydney Motorsport Park had required it. So I would imagine what they were concerned about was the lead car dipping a tyre onto the dirt as they were getting onto power.
On the outside.
Yeah, so you know how normally you'll start the cars, if the corner goes right, you'll start both cars on the right-hand side of the track, side by side, and the car will go through the chicane and head out to the left-hand side of the track.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they'll meet up.
Yeah.
Instead, they started far apart with a car width in the middle, and the lead car cut towards the middle of the track to leave the line.
Oh, okay, inwards.
Yeah, and the reason, so that was a Sydney Motor, because a few people were like, why the hell have you changed the direction of a chicane? Like, the chicane is normally you head towards the outside of the track, and Dan made a point of noting that there was a requirement from Sydney Motorsport Park to run that.
Yeah,
way, and
I don't think
I would
it's a
imagine
huge issue.
No, me either. And I would imagine the reason for it would have been because if people were getting on the power and had one wheel in the dirt, it would have just kept chewing up the same spot.
Man, a big event like that, you'd have a big cleanup anyway, so what does it matter?
Yeah, but I guess when you've got to bring cars back the next day,
Especially time attack cars as well.
yeah, does anybody even remember that Steve's here? Like, it's like
No,
the voice of,
I can't
it's
even
like the
see
voice-
him.
It's like the voice of God. You should just chime in whenever you like, because it's kind of weird.
And
but
in
at the same
a
time.
deep voice as well.
I keep trying to wait for the time to drop in. And now
Nah.
I see what Iggy's problem is.
You have to
You're trying
push
wait for
in.
that little gap.
You have to push in on
Alright.
Greg, yeah.
Okay. All right, so I got to push in. All right, I'll keep that.
Greg
in mind.
loves talking. He loves talking.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. I honestly forget that you're there.
It's because there's no video.
You got my lovely face there, but I'm working on it. I'm deleting and downloading drivers as we speak.
That's alright.
Okay.
Jai's probably correct. There probably were cyclists on the next morning. That's why they couldn't do it.
Right. Okay. So yeah, getting back to the criteria.
So Rob's asked, commentators were saying Fink was cutting off the chase cars going into the final corner.
Yeah.
Did they change?
No,
not
the
really,
commentators
but
were
honestly-
separated though,
What's that?
because the commentators weren't the judges, so they were just sort of saying what they could see. They've got an idea of what's happening, like the criteria, but
The commentators also weren't sitting with the judging panel.
no.
So
they were,
me and EG on both days positioned ourselves not far from the judges' stand, and during most of the event on Saturday, I ended up standing next to the judges' box because some dude who works for Bunnings kept putting up his fucking umbrella in the rain in front of me, so I couldn't see. And
no,
see,
there's
he's not
a
paying
gap.
attention
There's a
to
gap.
Steve's
Oh,
talking.
listen, I got no. Come back to that. I didn't want to get wet. Fuck
And yeah, the commentators were watching just the video from up in either the race control tower or the studio that potentially was up in the main grandstand. So yeah, basically I'm pretty sure somebody asked it in driver's briefing about it, but basically you had the freedom to do whatever the hell you wanted as long as you filled that outside zone without dropping your two front wheels behind the yellow line into the concrete area. You could pretty much fill between there and that inside clip whatever way you wanted, and if that meant driving the other car off the track, then there was no criteria around whether or not that was okay or not. I did give Luke a fair bit of crap about how slow the car was, but he said pretty much he just got it onto Wisefab and kept it pinned through there, and that's why the car was so slow. He said if he wanted to, he could have pulled a little bit of angle out of it, and it would have been a bit faster. But that's why it was doing what it was doing, and he was doing that from the first lap on Thursday practice. So yeah, not that big of an issue for me personally, considering they weren't asked to run. With the WA guys during practice were able to run a wide line everywhere, and I don't think that would be such a bad thing for that place, except then it just turns into a big rolling burnout, which is one of EG's personal favourite things in drifting.
Love it. Ah, Jesus.
From what I saw, it looked like Luke was actually modifying his line to suit how other people were driving. Like he only started doing that particular line that the commentators were noting once he got pulled up once or twice, or three times actually, by several other drivers that instead of powering up and around that hill, they were pulling up and causing the chase car, including Fink himself, to shallow out and go up on that up onto that ripple strip. And I noticed that after that happened a couple of times, Luke started to copy that line as well. I don't know if that was tactics or whatever, but
Also, by that stage, it was well and truly raining on and off, so I would imagine the track surface wasn't all that predictable.
I don't know. Normally that I'd use that excuse, but Luke Fink
He's a
and
freak.
and Nakamura, you could see them doing consistent runs. Like they were doing the same lines each time, no matter what the weather was.
Yeah,
So
I thought
I don't think.
I thought those two are very similar, and that's probably why they finished first and second.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's interesting. The format was interesting as well. A lot of people didn't understand the pooled system, even though it's been used not so much in drifting, but in other forms of other forms of sport. So, I guess a couple of popular ones are soccer, World Cup soccer, World Cup rugby. They've used it in basketball as well. Anything where they've sort of matched up and then they can just do like a short, quick knockout tournament at the end of it.
Yeah.
Where it sort of gives people chances and, more interaction with spectators, or more so audiences can see their teams more often, rather than getting knocked out and then that's it, you go home. That sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I spoke to Bruce Tannick, who drives the Achilles S13 over in D1NZ. He's the dude who a couple of years ago, I think Steve just fell off the internet. He drove Pro Street and Pro a couple of years ago and upset a lot of people. And he's come across for the event before, and he said that it's the best format that he's seen for it to be worthwhile as somebody to make the journey to do the event. Where previous years, you'd pay all that money or make all that effort and you're guaranteed 2 qualifying laps and 2 battle laps, and that was it. Where at least now you're guaranteed to get, at least 6 battle laps in, plus, a little bit more practice. So, yeah, definitely. He said it was, from a driver's perspective, not that he drove this year, but he said he's been to almost every World Time Attack, and yeah, for him it was one of the best formats that he's seen. So for anybody who didn't understand, there was the 8 pools with 4 cars, and you versed everybody in that pool and collected points, win, lose or draw. There was no reruns. You just collected points, and then if there was a split decision at the end of a pool, you'd go into a sudden death battle. And I think there only ended up being one pool, and they reran that a couple of times for various reasons, but we might get into that when we cover it, because that was a bit questionable too.
Yeah, that was interesting. But otherwise, I thought that worked well. I don't know if everyone else out there. I didn't think it was confusing. I thought it was pretty easy to follow. Did you find it confusing?
No, I thought it was pretty easy to follow. I think
having the board that I had made it a lot easier, I think.
Yeah. EG was sensible and brought out a whiteboard and was able to keep tally of the scores himself, so he didn't have to wait for them to get it up on.
Yeah, everyone was making fun of me about it.
Yeah, up on the stream, but then everybody was asking to have a look at it. I think, to me, ideally, and if it wasn't drifting that cooked cars, you'd smash your pool at a time. Like you'd just go pool A and just keep sending them out against each other, and so you knew who won that pool at the end of it, and then smash through the next pool, and then you know who won at the end of that. Then smash through the next pool would make it a little bit easier to follow, if you actually cared what you're following. But to just if you were a non-drift spectator and you sat there and you just got to see constant battles the way they're pumping out constant battles,
and
just knowing there was a winner and loser, it was good, because I thought the actual quality most of the way through was pretty good. I don't think there was any totally cringy, awful battles unless somebody spun or did something
Yeah, I was actually
a bit
surprised.
silly.
When it first started raining, there was a couple of cringy runs when it first started raining, which is expected. But I mean, there should be a little bit higher quality
Yeah.
driving than that, though. I think.
I think that's a bit of a rough call considering they only ever had 2 hour practice.
Nah, this is an international event. You got to remember, this
Yeah,
is
but it was
you.
but it
You
was
should
also,
be.
But we also got the wet at our end of the track. It was coming. The rain was coming from the east and heading out to the west, and it would come and sweep over us as it then swept onto the track. And I'm pretty sure at times it was raining where we were and on the furthest part of the course,
Yeah,
and be dry down at the start line.
yeah,
So they didn't necessarily know,
and
even
vice
leaving the
versa.
pit area, that they were coming onto a wet track.
Yeah, it
And
was.
again, that's what a professional driver should have their spotters able to tell them that as well. Though.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. That's why my driver adored a guy in the sketchy weather.
And then you told him to spin, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, no, this is an international event, so
Yeah, see,
they've got
I agree with Warwick.
months,
See, yeah, no, stop
months,
grinding him.
years,
See,
whatever.
I'm on your side, Warwick.
It's meant to be an invitation, like we know how it works, but it's meant to be an invitational. So you get selected because of your abilities, and you're showcasing drifting to the world. There's so many people watching, so
Yeah, but I don't think they were like too awful.
no, I'm not saying they're actually pretty good. I was surprised because there was some, the news that were being told that, there's a person there that's never drifted, never drifted tandem before. There's a lot of new cars as well.
Yeah. Do you think they'll let Connor in next year? He can be like
Hope
the world's
so.
first front-wheel drive drifter into World Time Attack.
Me? Yeah, I hope so. But I think you'd need to up his power though.
And a bit of seat time, I think, as well would help.
Yeah, probably. So, also before battle started, Brad Toohey ended up out, and Warwick Hill ended up in. Warwick did have a mishap on Thursday practice, but I forgot to mention it. He put a burner spark plug, which I'm all too familiar with, and it punched a hole in one of his valves. So his guys, including himself, I'm not sure what he's like on a spanner, pulled the head off his car on Thursday night to find the damage and then put a spare head on, and he ended up being called in to drive in place of Brad Toohey. Brad had one bank on his motor stopped working, and then just a few other issues that didn't seem like they could be resolved. He thought he'd resolved them for Sunday, so he was a bit upset that he didn't get to drive on Saturday. But it sounded like when he went out for full track demos on Saturday that the car was still not right.
Yeah.
So it was probably ended up being a lucky call that they had chucked Woz in to replace him in that pool, even under the pressure that Woz had with having to change a head over the night from Thursday to Friday. Yeah, I thought overall pool battles were pretty good. Do you want to go through our tipping competition, EG?
Just quickly. Okay, hang on, let me just bring it up.
Are we going to go pool by pool?
Yeah. We'll just but we only do on the pool, not the overall. So if those people that listen to the last 2 episodes, because we went through Greg's one and the episode before was with Steve and Blake, we all sort of put our recommendation, our the bets? Predictions, that's it, for who would actually progress through the pool. And this was the first pick, it wasn't like close second or whatever like that, so just only one. And so I did a tally, but we'll just go through the pool first. So pool A had Michael Prosnick, Anthony Billick, Josh Botcher, Matt Russell. In this pool, Michael Prosnick won. We had Greg and myself.
Can you pull on the screen?
Yes, I actually have that ready.
Yeah.
Yes. So you should be able to see that. I've indicated the predictions as letters. So G for Gerg, E for EG, B for Blake, and S for Steve.
Oh, like yeah, that's great, mate. I'm glad I've got that to. Mate, I've got 30 people on mine and you've got 11, so I think I'm winning, and I don't have that on me currently.
What?
I have more people watching my stream, and you've pulled it up on the YouTube, not on Skype.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, nah, just go on YouTube.
Nah, don't go on YouTube because it sucks. Just keep staying on YouTube.
Nah, just go to both. Have YouTube open. You can mute the audio. That's fine. Just make sure you have the.
I'll see if I can quickly get this thing.
Oh, you've got the image as well. Anyway. Okay, so in that pool, Mike Prosnick went through. So Gerg and myself had picked Michael. He pretty much had a clean sweep, winning all of his rounds. Steve had a.
But he was backing it in from the first run on Thursday. There was no stopping him in that group.
He is, yeah. Everything I've seen of him, he was a really solid driver. So, have you got that up yet, Greg?
Nah, you can keep going. I'm
Okay.
gonna try and find it.
So Matt Russell came in second, which was Steve's pick, but unfortunately only one person goes through. And then we had equal.
Steve thinks too much. Steve thinks too much with his
heart.
with his heart. Yeah. I gave my head and my heart predictions.
Well, I don't know. Like it was a case of, I sort of had a hunch. Matt seems to struggle a little bit with the high power courses. I know I was giving him the benefit of the doubt on this one.
But over Prosnick?
Yeah, and
no, in hindsight though, I think I was just doing it not to jump on the pros train on that one. I think so. But yeah, no.
How could you not jump on the pros train?
I mean, if you have, when we go through the rest of these pools, you see what I mean. I just jumped on other ones even just for the hell of it. But
I think you're justifying your loss.
Silly boy.
Oh no, like I'll accept that one. That one was just I should have there on that one.
Yeah, well, Matt hasn't had any major, if any, changes with his car. I don't think I've never seen him. He's a good driver, but a good person, really smart talker as well, very clever. But I don't think he's actually improved his car at all for this event. And every time he brings it back, the same car, while everyone else has made changes, they've developed things, they've increased their power, and everything becomes sort of leveled up, and he's sort of stayed where he is, car-wise.
Similar sort of results.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I'm not set up to pull this thing up because whenever I change to try and add a scene, it just keeps blacking out my screen. And I haven't got audio set up to do it, so we'll put it up on the Clutch Kick page. You know what?
Later on?
I might actually chuck it up on the Clutch Kick page now.
Okay.
Just if you're on.
I'll just look it on YouTube.
Pull it up somewhere else. Nah, don't look at the YouTube. All right, keep going, mate.
Okay. Pool B. This was interesting. So, originally had Brad Toohey in it, and was replaced by Warwick Hill. So this sort of messed up our predictions, I guess. Fanger Dan, Aaron Dewar, and Adam Monk. In this pool, yeah.
That was, and also the thing that messed this pool up is the fact that we didn't re-predict after Fanger had punched his car into the wall and then ended up in a replacement car.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, Dewar drove really well though. Like,
yeah, of course.
So he deserved that pool win definitely.
Well,
can't take that away from him.
He was driving really well in high tech, but just seeing the stuff that people were saying about him, Fanger Dan in New Zealand, and bringing his own car over, I thought, he had the advantage at that point. I thought, Dewar, I remember seeing videos of high tech, and he was really good, especially from 2 years before when he was just made lots of noise. But yeah, anyway, in this pool, we all picked Bang and Dan, and he almost came last in that pool.
What car was Monk driving again? Excuse my ignorance.
The Newline S15 with the 2 dirty big turbos hanging out the bonnet.
I didn't see that much. Unfortunately, I only made it for the Saturday, but I didn't really see that car that much.
Yeah, you would have only seen the one You would have only seen the one run because those guys had done 2 battles on
On the Friday.
Yeah.
On the Friday.
But he actually came second as well in that pool. So he drew twice and he won once. So it's pretty strong when they battled it out. Anyway, moving on, pool 3, or pool C. We have Jaron, Olive Kroner, Jack Shanahan, Ben Meir, and Brendan Greaves. So in this one we had Greg, Blake, myself predict Jack Shanahan. While Steve has gone for Ben Meir, but unfortunately that was not correct. The winner was Brendan Greaves from Western Australia. But this one was also the one where they had the draw in it. So
yeah, the
Olive
draw.
Kroner and Greaves both had 4 points at the end of the pool, so they had to battle it out for the top 8.
Yeah, so something that upset me a little bit on this one was, even though I thought Greaves was the better driver in that group, was there was a criteria set in place, or like basically in the reg said, if you're caught with under 1 bar of pressure once you pull to the line, that you forfeit that battle, like the battle is over for you. And in the first run in the tiebreaker, the sudden death, Brendan was caught with less than 1 bar of pressure in his tires, as far as what it was announced over the radio, like over the through the commentators. And then he had won the battle, and then they ended up running it again based off the fact that he had run with under that amount of pressure in his tires, but he was supposed to forfeit the whole thing.
Well, you know who else was caught with that was Jack Shanahan as well.
Well, no, okay, and this is where they messed up with that. So as far as the regs went, it said to the line. Jack debeated a tyre in the burnout box. He hadn't made it to the line yet. And so he was given a loss against Brendan on the Friday, but that battle was reinstated and run on Saturday.
Yeah.
So that was made right, but then maybe because of that situation, they gave Brendan the benefit of the doubt and let him, run it again with proper tyre pressures. But yeah, I don't know. That for me was a little bit of a sticking point. Like, there are rules, so stick to them. But then, yeah, I understand a little bit that it's for the show.
Yeah.
But in that pool, though, I guess I go back to the pool though. I got to say, I was seriously impressed with both the driving from Olive Kroner and Greaves. Both very cool cars as well. And to be honest with you, for me, both of them, either of them could have gone through. Would have been a hard one to pick.
Yeah,
I think Greaves had it the whole time.
Yeah, he's a strong
driver.
driver.
Yeah, he was. Olive Kroner was good, but I think Greaves had the edge, like consistently had the edge. Like I think that it was a good show, and that's probably why it was close enough to call another run between those two. But every time I look at it, it's like, no, Greaves has always got that edge against Olive Kroner. Olive Kroner was in the V12, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it sounded so cool, just how much it buzzed. It sounded like a Ferrari, but Ferrari or Lamborghini, one of those two.
Any of those exotics.
Yeah.
Sounded expensive.
Yes. But his driving was good. His driving was good. And that's the it shows. It just, there's so many good drivers at that event. It was hard to get everyone through.
Yeah, and I thought,
I was just going to say, the engineering in that car for Olive Kroner was unreal. I did a little bit of, research on it, and apparently only the block and the head, are factory. Everything else is custom made. If you ever get a chance to look it up, you got to check out the engine bay and that thing. Like off both sides of the heads, you got spaghetti coming off each side. It's a engineering marvel, really, that thing. But it's the sort of standard that you sort of want to expect at an event like this too, anyway.
Yeah, I think that Black Arts fabricator guy who moved from Victoria to Queensland said he could knock up one of those manifolds in about half an hour. I think he said he'd have no trouble at all. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Steve's gushing all over that stuff because it's a Toyota motor.
No, even those motors are terrible in stock form. Like, I wouldn't even bother even looking at them, but yeah.
I saw one drifting in Japan once, and that one didn't look anything nice. Or I wouldn't bother doing it.
They make less power than the one used from memory. I think they were just built as a luxury smooth motor. They weren't actually designed for anything more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, Rob's got it right. It's just mechanical engineer porn. That's pretty much it.
And then, if you want to talk about protection, did you see the back of that car?
No,
It's like
I didn't.
fiberglass. Oh, it was like the whole rear guard, boot, everything, like the bumper, boot lid. That was all not there. It was all fiberglass, and they had just a fuel cell tucked in between the strut towers and a little bit of reinforcing, and that was it. So you could pretty much walk a meter into the car and only hit fiberglass.
Yeah, I remember seeing it with the rear clip off when they did a little interview and stuff.
Yeah. So that car doesn't have any protection at the back. It's only got like a little small bar for the fuel cell.
Yep. So.
Right. So on to Pool D. Yeah.
Pool D. Okay. Pool D. It was Connor Shanahan, Luke Fink, Michael Bonney, Stephen Bergmans. Yeah. So this was.
You spelled it wrong, Matt. It's supposed to be
Brugmans.
It's supposed to be an R before the U.
Oh, okay. All right. Never mind. This one, everyone except for me went for Luke, but this was. My prediction was before Luke changed cars because I thought Luke's car was gonna explode.
Oh, that is a fair call. So before people jump on the bandwagon, when AG says he thought Luke's car was going to explode, he meant the S15, not the car Luke had supplied Connor.
Although I would have liked to see what Luke would have done in that situation. I've got a feeling he would have just kept it pinned and sent it steam pouring out the windows anyway. But yeah, it probably could have been repaired if it didn't go into the wall.
No. So EG was talking about when EG said he made the prediction. He was talking that the S15 Luke was supposed to drive would have had issues.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no.
So that one.
There's too many cars being built for this one group of people that think sort of.
Yeah, but they didn't even make the event, so it's kind of right. Like I thought he wouldn't even finish the event.
Nah, but there was too many changes with everything.
I know there was changes, so yeah, right? I just left it. That was what I said a long time ago, because I made a set of predictions once the pool actually came out. I think it was that day, and I just sort of stuck with it.
Blah blah blah, because we could change our things a million ways over.
Yeah. Well, no, I posted it already. Like I sent it to you guys, and then I said my reasons. Yeah, so I just stuck with them.
Well, we saw that car being driven by its owner up at Archie in DCA, and even then, it was an unreal car to watch.
Which one, the 180?
Yeah.
The funniest part is that Luke did an interview and he called it the Missile purely because James now has two cars and the 180 is like the practice car, I guess, now. And so Luke referred to it as the Missile, and everybody's just like, oh, it's a piece of shit, all this sort of stuff. And it's like, no, Luke was literally just taking the piss. So, yeah.
No. So that's why I went for Connor. Because I thought that would be the more sorted car out of those two.
EG, I just got word. So Russell's just dropped it on us that the 180 was coming down either way as the backup.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That still doesn't help me.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it still doesn't really help me
Nah, you
At
can
the
try
time
justify
of the
your way into
predictions.
this competition, but you're out, mate.
No, I didn't do too bad. Didn't do too bad. Steven's car was not very good, actually. So he got the Drift Masters Z supplied by Rob White, and I think to begin with, I thought it looked like the clutch was slipping. It was definitely smoke coming out where it shouldn't have been, and then it started sounding like it only had like 5 cylinders or 4 cylinders.
Yeah, it didn't sound amazing all the time, so
So he was kind of a bit. I thought it would have been
a few of
sorted.
his runs were pretty good.
Yeah, they were good, but his car was shit, pretty
Yeah,
much. That's
so-
the easiest way
But
to say
to me,
it.
it shows the versatility of him as a driver, considering what
Yeah.
he drives on a regular basis, and then what he was able to do in that car with it being less than ideal. It seemed like.
Yeah, the car let him down, but no, we didn't pick him anyway. For some reason, and then Connor.
Another car I missed. I didn't get to see that one run. Would have been good, but
No, it wasn't that good to see run. It was there. It was just making noises and not really going anywhere very quickly. And then Connor, I think Connor Shanahan, the car that he borrowed, or the replacement car.
2 cars.
Yeah. The first car wasn't very good, and they took it for a tune.
Yeah, they took it for a tune, and it spun a bottom end on Friday night. And so they ended up borrowing Ben Toya's 180, which is I'm pretty sure it's a turboed LS. Ben's actually over in India somewhere, and the guys at Red Sun had the car or were able to get it. So the guys from Red Sun got the car there, and it seemed like Connor was a lot happier in that. So it's just a shame that, he didn't have that one a little bit earlier, and he might have given Luke a bit of a scare. I'm only saying it because I know he's listening, or he was listening. So
Okay.
yeah, look, Luke walked away with that group in the end. Like, he was super consistent. He was fat arming through the last corner. He basically was there and didn't give a shit and was able to kill everybody. So yeah.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Pool E. This was an interesting one, actually. So Pool E had Nob Taniguchi, Nathan Greenhill, Bo Yates, and Drift Samurai. I can't remember his first name, but Imamura. Yeah. Now, Blake picked Nob Taniguchi, Steve picked Nathan Greenhill, and Greg and myself picked Bo Yates. And while no one picked Imamura. And I think there's probably a good reason. Just because, like many other cars, that car had lots of issues at QR, and it was likely to.
That's the rotor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that car, just didn't seem that well sorted still. So yeah, he didn't seem like he did like 1 or 2 runs that were okay, but it just definitely wasn't.
The car looks cool. It stands out.
Oh,
but
beautiful car.
I don't think it drives well, and I don't think they had time to actually do any testing as well. Like, I think Imamura turned up and drove the car. It was maybe make 1 or 2 changes, saying do this, do that, and that's it. So really not enough time to sort the car out. I don't think the driver drifts the car. The owner drifts the car either. At the moment?
No, he does.
Does it?
I don't know at the moment. Yeah, definitely not sure at the moment. But yeah, the only Yates' spin against Taniguchi was was just really odd. I thought
it was unusual for him.
Spinning, right?
Yeah, he spun.
Yeah.
Or half spun.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
They seem that's 2 world time attacks where he spun against people. Because last year he had the spin against Luke, and I understand the spin against Luke last year was in the wet, but it's just very uncharacteristic. So that ended up being a good battle between them. Sadly, Nathan just didn't seem to get a grasp on
His car.
the battle side of that car just yet. and he seemed.
Yeah, I had to back our DCA guy, like, you know.
Yeah, of course, and he, my head was saying Yates, and I'm pretty sure I put my heart bet on Greenhill, and after seeing him on Thursday, I would have said that he was in with a good shot, but just needs more time.
Yeah.
More time in behind.
Most of my picks. Yeah, most of the picks I had were they had some influence by if they were bringing a brand new car, especially if they haven't had any testing. So those tested and sorted cars are a bit of a step up. So I guess new cars a bit dangerous without testing.
Was Taniguchi driving in Time Attack as well?
Yes. I don't know if he was a driver. I know he was in the HKS 86.
Oh, okay. So he drove the red car.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's in something else as well. But usually he's driving like a Japanese car, but there weren't that many Japanese cars this year, I don't think.
Nah, and that red HKS car ran on full slicks and just did sort of demo laps.
Yeah.
But he looked really good. Taniguchi looked amazing from the get-go. So yeah, he was very good.
Oh yeah, his first out lap was awesome. I can't believe how fast he was actually going through the S's, and then he had so much angle. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think so. I thought one of his early laps sort of gave me the D-box, like the DOS system feel. Wasn't really on clip straight away, but he was sort of just huge flow and huge speed and all that sort of stuff.
I don't think.
But I can't remember if that was on. That would have been his. Yeah, that must have been his outlap on Friday because he didn't get to drive at all on.
Yeah, Taniguchi's not one of the DOS drivers though. Like I think he's experienced DOS, but he hasn't been in drifting for the last while. Where DOS is. Yeah, he's like really early 2000s drivers. Yeah, and then he bowed out, I think, and then he came back in with another car. I think it was a Tesla, and then I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, fair enough.
They might have had DOS then, but he didn't really have. He's not experienced with DOS, so. But apparently that HKS car was built by Daigo's workshop. Did you hear that?
Yeah, somebody said it was the car that Daigo was building. I just wasn't sure if that was true or not, but yeah, good chance it was.
Alright, so next pool?
Next pool. Did we go through?
Yeah, we said that he did 5 years of DOS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Luke. Told you, EG.
No, it wasn't that much. Not compared to these days. DOS has been around for a while.
Doesn't matter. Move on to the next pool.
Yeah.
Next one.
Next pool, pool F. We had Dale Campaign. For some reason, already at Dale C. Jake Jones, Carl Thompson.
He's so famous. He just needs a first name. He's just Dale from DCA.
Camo Mode. Why didn't I write Campaign? I don't know. No idea. That's weird. Then I wrote Campaign. The rest of the. I don't know. Doesn't make sense. Okay, moving on. So in this pool we had Steve and Greg go for Dale, and Blake and myself go for Camo Mode, and Dale ended up winning the pool with Jake Jones and Camo Mode equal second.
In fairness, for you guys, which car did you think Camo was driving?
S15.
An S15, but which car did you think he was driving?
The 2J S15.
He was driving He was in the one. He was in his old 1J S15, the old Danny Verhumis car.
Yeah, right.
Somebody else was driving his car. His car that he drove last year at the event. Somebody else was driving that.
But yeah, look, I gotta say, Dale did his usual thing, like
consistency.
It's just the consistency and technicality of it, and then just when you think that he's sort of run out of talent, he just starts pulling stuff from nowhere and starts actually showing that bit of flair and pizzazz that you sort of need to go through the top, through the higher levels of of this competition, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Blake's unfortunately not available, but we were talking about this trackside. We're like, oh, he's done for, and then he goes and pulls out some killer runs, and then goes on to the third and fourth battle in the end. It's unreal. So yeah, that's why I sort of went for Dale on that one.
Yeah.
And then I had a chat with Jake Jones and told him that he's being conservative with his car. I think he's afraid of breaking it. So, but
Who's that?
Jake Jones. So
yeah, look at the end.
he tried.
Yeah, look,
he tried to push a bit afterwards because they were sending him messages.
But he spun against Dale at that stage. Like, yeah, you're in trouble. And like the hardest part with this is if you didn't score a point in basically every battle, like at least 1 point, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, there was only 2 groups where you were able to get 4 points and actually make it through. So.
Yeah.
So apparently Dale Campaign is now officially a pro driver because he cranked up his boost finally and is running in steady state. So he's now a professional driver compared to before. But
he's driven ADGP on semis and done all that jazz before as well. So it's not new to him.
Oh no, it's just a comment I think is made.
Yeah, no, I know. Nah, DCA drivers are still shit and the cars are missiles, so just accept it.
I thought Camo would do a bit better chasing. I thought that's what would give him the edge. So that's why I went for him.
Luke just said, "EG, when I come to Summon Hats, I'm going to get my kids to do some of your Hot Wheels." Yeah,
okay.
And in fairness, yeah, as Solly just said, Dale just drove IDC and Pro and almost qualified for, missed out by a bee's dick for qualifying for the main event. So, yeah, let's not put too much shit on the boy.
No, he's good. He won DCA. He's good driver. He's consistent. I think that's what helped him because a lot of people did some funky stuff where they'd spin like Bo, Jake, like those guys have been around for ages as well, and they just did these like spins. They just went, oh, I'm just going to spin.
Yeah, I think Dale's annoyingly consistent.
Yeah.
That is the perfect word for it. It's annoyingly consistent. But it's what wins in the races. Yeah. Alright, what's next?
Pool G. Mitch Pullen. This was a fun one. Mitch Pullen, Danny Probert, Naoki Nakamura, Joel Dimmock. So this one was the one where they had Mitch.
This was the pool of clusterfucks, really.
Yeah, so Mitch Pullen in the Hilux.
In the Hilux?
Yeah.
He drove it down from Queensland and then drove it home.
Yeah, I saw number plates on it. That was cool.
Yeah, it because it couldn't fit in that transporter that he had borrowed off mates. So
really?
Transporter there that they were using for a lot of the DCA guys and Luke and his crew as like a little home for the weekend to give him a base. And yeah, Mitch's first tandem run ever was with Luke in practice. I think Luke was pretty much just trying to show him the line, and then he didn't really drive that bad. I thought he drove pretty well considering. He sort of backed down a little bit, I felt, on...
No, he was solid. He was good. He wasn't afraid, because people wig out, and then they get pressured, and they're like, oh, I'm going to do something stupid. But he kept into it. Even when people were, right on him, he didn't wig out.
Definitely in that run against... Yeah, definitely on that one against Nakamura, I was pretty proud of him after he broke the car, just staying pinned. But in his battle against Probert on Friday, he sort of backed off it a little bit.
I gotta say, there are photos of him when he snapped his knuckle. He's on full noise, and both front wheels are like in opposite directions, but he's kept it pinned and actually completed the course. So mad props for that, I think.
He came off around the last corner, which doesn't really count.
Yeah, it came up.
Well, it counts, but it's not that hard. He would have made it anyway to get steering.
Man.
Yeah, I know, but he still, if you want to get technical, he would have gone. He didn't make it. He didn't make it to the line, but he would have made it. It's in that part of the course where, yeah, he did well, especially for no steering, pretty much.
Yeah, and
Actually, no, he was running modified knuckles, but when he snapped one, he had to put a stock one in the other side. Sorry, this is one of the comments on
Yeah.
on the live stream.
don't argue with Mitch too much because he was pitting for Luke, so he knows a fair bit. But yeah, it was modified by the sounds of things, and then. But yeah, he did. Yeah, definitely did very good. Why did he get a spot? Ian
I
asked
don't
Luke
know.
if Luke knows any cool cars or anything like that, and Luke said, "Yeah, I know this Hilux with 1,000 horsepower. I can get it to come."
He also
So,
said there's this
and-
really cool 8.6 with a V6 in it, but the owner won't fix it.
It would have been too slow anyway. Okay. Luke just called him out. So Pullen actually modified them himself, the knuckles, and he's
not
a
a very
shoe
good
welder.
welder.
So the next one in that group was Danny Probert, which Steve put an interesting bet down with Blake, or I think Blake actually forced Steve into the bet, but it was still fun anyway. So Danny was in the XD Falcon drift car thingy, like it was a crazy build. There's a videos of it on YouTube. I think Jake Jones does a quick walk around on one of his vlogs, and there's all these stuff on Facebook as well. What's the company name? X Drift Industries or something like that? No.
I can't remember now. But look, I don't know. I purely went for that car just on the build alone, because it's got the gear in it. And after seeing it go around the track, you can see it was a stable, well-powered car. I just got a feeling the driver is too used to V8 power. Like, I don't know, just from the sides, it looked like he wasn't used to clutch kicking during the transitions. So when he do his transition, he'd jump back on the throttle, and there'd be no boost, no power, and he'd straighten up. Because once he got the thing singing and going sideways, the thing looked flat, planted as it actually looked really cool. So I don't know. I reckon with a bit of wheel time, that'll be a much more competitive car. But
Yeah.
it was a bad choice in this pool because it was against Nakamura. But I don't know. Had to have a go on something.
I was actually a little bit hopeful as well for him because that car's cool. Like the build, and he did it progressively. And the car was driving as well a month or two ago because there was videos on Facebook of it driving around.
Yeah, we're doing some skids. Yeah, and he already has an XD, but I'm pretty sure it's the V8 powered one. So it wasn't a new platform. Just the car was new and a whole lot more, not a whole lot more well presented, but just a better package all around. But he did some really good laps in practice on Thursday. I thought he's going to potentially give it a bit of a shake up. But sadly, he ended up, I think trying to potentially conserve the car and
New car, that sort of thing. The mentality, like the thing in the back of your mind.
Yeah, they're like mistakes where you're second guessing yourself rather than just going with the flow of and the momentum of the battle. So I think that's sort of more so what threw him off, and that's been announced today that he's staying keeping the car down this direction and doing the next round of high tech down at Winton. So it'll be interesting to see once he's got a full day of driving under his belt there, how he'll go down there. And I would imagine that he's going to be a pretty serious contender because the guy looks like he can steer when he puts down a really good lap. So
just wait for the car to get a little bit beat up, and then he'll show himself.
Yeah, potentially.
Because the solo runs were a lot better than his tandems. Like he freaked out once in front of Joel, I think.
Yeah.
Remember he pulled up real hard, and that caused Joel to hit the back of him. Like he just didn't. I think he freaked out, and that's why that happened. Because he didn't really do anything like that before, and added to the rain as well. But then you had
in that group. Do you remember the Friday battle between Nakamura and Joel Dimmick in the GTZ, which is the 240Z with the
I get
motor.
Yeah.
So So Joel had staged to. I'm pretty sure he was supposed to chase first, and he ended up leaving the chase line and took off in front. And Nakamura just stayed with him and was like, whatever, let's just end this battle. And
Yeah.
then Joel cooked it into the second inside clip in the left-hander, and then pulled a little mungie, and so Nakamura
Just
pulled
do
the
it on
same
the mungie, yeah.
and then jumped on his door and just sat on him.
Yeah.
Um,
It would have been cool to see another camera view of that, actually. But
yeah, but I'm pretty sure the Z just dragged Nakamura off the line and went in front. So Nakamura was just like, let's go with it. And then, so when they flipped the battle around, they went into the correct lane. Like, they swapped lanes again. And then I think Nakamura was going to just chase again. And Joel stopped just as they were leaving he was leaving the chicane, and had this moment of like, oh shit, like, I don't think I was in the right spot. And then, so Nakamura just ended up just going for the lead run and just, ended up smoking the crap out of him. But yeah, that ended up being, a bit of a clusterfuck with that one.
I also
they just let it run.
Also didn't think Nakamura's car had 1,000 horsepower, just from the look of it. It just didn't seem to.
Look, they're dyno numbers, mate.
Yeah.
They wind them up, do the tune, and then drop them down. Like, you don't need 1,000 for that.
Nah, I thought maybe they might just be spinning something just to get a bit more attention to say, he's bringing 1,000 horsepower car, but it's actually like 700 or something.
Well, maybe it's, 1,000 at the crank.
Yeah, that makes sense. 1,000 at the crank. It could have been.
Like 1,000 when the wastegate stuck shut. I don't know.
Right. Joel was in the Z.
The Z.
Yeah, and he had. I think he's
dialed in a lot more than last time I saw it.
It's not
dialed in a lot more than I saw it.
I didn't think so. I didn't. It's still. It had
great.
It had issues last time. It seems like he's solved 1 out of 50 issues, maybe 2, and then it still was like missing. Like, you can hear at the end of the night, he's putting his foot down. It wasn't revving. It just didn't sort of move predictably as well.
Do you think it's just a funny limiter on it? Because it didn't sound nice on limiter or whatever. It sounded like a misfire when it was at
that was really similar to last year, but not as bad. So whatever, like, one issue they might have fixed, then extended that limiter, but it sounded bad. The drive was like really slow, like as in when you put your foot down, it didn't sort of power out consistently. It just sort of like came on and then tapered off really quickly.
I haven't, in the few events I've been at that I've seen the car, I've never actually gone and looked at it that closely, so I'm not sure what sort of turbo setup and all that. I would imagine it's still on twins and all that sort of thing, but he drove all weekend at Queensland Matsuri and was there on 123, so he had a bunch of seat time and testing with the car.
Oh, really?
Sean Power said that the R35s have an odd limiter, so it's potentially what it's supposed to sound like, but clearly just needs more seat time.
I think it's the car.
Yeah, Zed's aren't always the best chassis for drifting.
I don't even know what he's done to it, so he could have, because the rear end's that really weird. It's like the Commodore, like an old Commodore suspension, where the whole arm moves and you get heaps of camber as it dips.
You'd like to think you wouldn't have kept the standard Z rear end.
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I have no idea. But it just didn't seem to drive nicely. Like, it was sort of a bit wild out there, and it wasn't wild cool. It was wild unpredictable.
Damien Cook asked, "Do they come standard with a misfire?" That was in reply to Sean's. Kind of said it's a trailing wishbone.
Okay. And that one also had the bet where Steve's going to become a vegan, or Blake was going to become a meat eater, depending on what.
So
for a month.
Before that, before that even went down, and I should have taken a photo of it. Our in-house vegan was double fisting soft serve before going up to watch the drifting on Saturday. Oh no, maybe that was on Friday. So we had a soft serve, one in each hand.
There we go.
And he was-
GDR rear end in that Z, by the way.
Okay. Must be something to do with the
No,
dimensions.
so that doesn't mean there's a GTR rear end in that car. So you can buy a different knuckle, as far as I'm aware, or you can change the subframe to accept an R200 setup. Because Ash has had one in the shop before, getting a Skyline, not whole subframe, but just to be able to accept the diff and the shafts and the hubs. So I would imagine there's a huge potential that it's just that conversion. It hasn't actually changed all the arms and all that stuff. So no, yeah, you can get them to be able to run just a Skyline or a S chassis diff.
Yeah, factory they run bloody uni joints. So that'd definitely be an improvement.
Yeah. So yeah, that was definitely that's maybe what that was.
Okay.
But yeah, so back to that. So back to your bet. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Blake had already started the non-vegan lifestyle with his double fisting of soft serve, and then it sounds like somebody else is going to have to go vegan. Voice of God.
Well, I tried, and then I sort of moved along the food chain. So cows eat grass, and grass is vegan. So,
You didn't even try it all. You didn't even try it all. I think we're gonna have to confiscate your car now.
My car.
Yeah.
Which one?
Late 6. I'll confiscate it for Blake. Don't worry. I'll keep it. And then we can give we'll give the trailer away.
I'm eating more greens. Does that count? I'm making an effort. I'm just garnishing it with just a sprinkle of steak.
No, you don't have to be a level 5 vegan. Just a level 1's fine.
All right. So clearly, Steve's not going to hold up his end of the bargain.
I'm trying. It's an addiction.
All right.
Addiction.
Roll it into pool H.
Okay, so the final pool, we had Jace Brown, Matty Hill, Levi Clark, and Matt Harvey. So in this pool we had Greg go for Levi Clark, while the rest of us went for Matt Harvey. We should have won, but I reckon this one was rigged.
I'm not sure how it's rigged. This prediction was made before Matt asked me to spot for him.
Yeah, but you were like laying your thing and saying, yeah, I can spot for you. That's right. Got this sorted, and then you said yeah.
But we've got a detective who said there's reports of Blake stuffing his face with KFC after a few beers recently.
Yeah, Blake, you've always seen him do some sneaky eating because when his M&Ms and what else did he have? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that he sneaks
disgusting.
in.
Disgusting. All right, go back to you bagging on me.
So anyway,
you being the spotter for Matt Harvey.
Yeah, influence the results a little bit in
sure
your favour.
Influence the results. We didn't even have radios on Friday. The comms were just not good.
Yeah, did you see that on Friday he actually won that battle?
And in fairness, the one time we actually had proper comms on Saturday was, I felt bad for the guys in this group because they ended up being the ones that copped the first part of the rain, or as it started to rain the heaviest during their second battle on Saturday, and then were the ones who started to cop the dry line in their third battle.
Yes.
And I think that group got the worst of the weather all round. So I thought all the guys did a pretty good job considering how shitty their weather was for their battles. So it ended up they were dry on Friday. This group actually missed out on a second practice run on Friday before the battles took place because they ran out of time to run everybody through again. Then they didn't know whether or not they'd battle their second battle. on Friday, which they didn't. And so on Saturday, they ended up copping rain just before their group started taking place. And then the rain had backed off once they got through all the battles again for their third run. And there was a dry line that had formed between the inner clip on turn 2 and just before going up the hill. So it was still super greasy on entry and then still super wet on the way up the hill, but along the concrete and sort of between that inside clip on turn 2 and the inside clip going up the hill, it was dry. So
It was really inconsistent. Yeah, and there was a little bump as well on the switch. So between, were you calling it corner 1 and corner 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of a bump, and there was a dry spot there as well, and then it went slippery again. So you can see a lot of people sort of wavering a little bit when I went over that.
I think that concrete, when it was slightly damp, was like ice as well.
I think that whole, it seems like the whole track was really. But I thought the battle of that group was Matt's chase run on Jace Brown in the final battle. I'll take full credit for that one. It wasn't definitely had nothing to do with Matt's amazing driving ability, but considering the way that the track was progressing, he was able to jump straight on door with him, and I think that was the first time the crowd actually
they got up
clapping was for that battle.
Good battle.
Yeah.
And I think he was severely power hand. Well, it doesn't really matter too much in the rain. It probably helped him, but he's got a lot less power than the rest of the cars in that pool as well.
Who?
I can confirm.
Yeah.
Matt Harvey.
I can confirm Matt wanted it to rain. He just didn't want it to be patchy.
So a solid rain would have helped him out a bit.
Well, yeah, and considering what happened in his lead run, he transitioned a little bit too early and ended up with his front wheels on the greasiness that was off the dry line, and he just cooked on way too much angle and was able to finish out the run, but it was too big of a mistake. I am speaking biasly here, being as I was spotting for Matt, but I did think Matty Hill. I agreed. The only decision that I agreed with Suchir on was that during the Matty Hill and Matt Harvey battle, that on both runs, both cars went 4 wheels off.
Was this pool the one that had that really weird thing where if someone had a tie, it would have been a 4-way tie or something like that?
Yeah. So on that final battle, when Levi and Matt went against each other, it was that the judges had pulled up their. One judge had gone for one had gone for another, and one had 2 cards sitting in front of him. And then they watched a whole bunch of replays, went to a commercial break, and then came back, and then they were all unanimous with Levi. So
yeah, it would have been a 4-way tie. I think it was, who was that against? That was Matt.
Yeah, Matty Hill and Levi.
Clark. Yeah.
So Matty Hill was, and look, I have to give the guy massive props. He had jumped into a new car. He bought Camo Mote's old car, or Foreman's bought Camo Mote's old car, and he was still wearing a moon boot all weekend because he's still got the pin in his foot from the trailer incident, looking after his brother's piece of shit 180, and he during his first battle, he told me he basically pulled out of the drift because he thought he was going to hit Jace, and basically if he was foot down on the clutch pedal when he took that hit, he'd probably snap the rod in his foot. So for him, it just wasn't worth that risk. So big props to Matt for putting himself out there in not ideal physical condition and in a brand new car, but yeah, definitely did a good job. And he said my prediction was that Matt was going to struggle because of the Wisefab in the car, but he said that car feels better than what the way his FD Japan car is set up. It was set up with Wisefab. He said that one feels a whole lot more natural, and he really likes it. So,
it looked like he didn't have any issues with that. So.
Yeah, I think there was just 1 or 2 times during practice where it sort of fell onto Wisefab, but I think that yeah, I think that was more driving style and not having a handle of himself at that stage more than the car forcing itself to do that. But I thought overall that was a pretty good battle, like a pretty good group, and yeah, the fact that it almost came to the point where every driver had, yeah, uh, a win, a loss, and a draw was, you know, very, very close to happening.
That would be interesting. So yeah, so that's the pools, and I did some calculations, and how should we do it? So overall, so I did 2 sets of calculations. One was pool wins, so the guys that won, they got 1 point. So just in any order. So Greg, luckily, 5 points, and that's actually the first position. So he got 5 predictions correct out of 8.
I think that's pretty damn good.
Myself and Steve are only 2 out of 8, and Blake had 3. So it's interesting to see, especially when Greg is a lot newer than us.
I'm not a lot. Nah, in fairness, I'm a grade 1 drift stalker.
So yeah, I guess you are especially compared to me. I don't know about Blake. Does a little bit, but I usually drive more than you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the people I watch as well are not.
I think
different.
Steve was drunk when he was making decisions.
Well, in in all fairness, EG was like, "Oh, it's going to be boring if everyone picks the same drivers." So I was like, "All right, I'll have a go at some of the underdogs."
Yeah, so I was like, "Hey, Steve, pick other people while I copy Greg's predictions."
I put mine down first, by the way, a long time ago. As soon as the pool was drawn.
None of you could, buddy, even bat it, buddy. Yeah, none of you could even bat it 50% like I could.
But we also did pool points, so this is where the points that each driver received in their pool rounds.
So EG feels better for himself, so he's 1 step above me.
No, I thought it was interesting as well because there's second place as well. So if they're kind of close, but they just missed out. So of course, with Greg with 5 wins, he's still 34 points in total. So myself and Blake actually equaled 28 points, and Steve was 25 points.
So you did another set of calculations because you had lost with Steve on the predictions.
No, I was just curious. That's all.
If I can do some weird mathematical equation, I can basically say that Steve lost and I beat him.
Oh, I can say that. Yeah, Steve lost. He came dead last.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
That seems fair.
Okay.
That sounds standard, EG.
But
so I guess
it was interesting to see that you'd make more correct predictions than the rest of us, I thought.
Yeah. So before we roll into talking about the rest of the battles, that pool system, do you think it should become a more standardized system, or do you think something reserved for something like a World Time Attack Challenge?
I don't know. There's pros and cons either way.
Yeah.
This is a cool setup. Definitely got things moving. There was lots of action, and you can sort of pick and choose from different pools, can't you? Like if something were to happen with some other drivers, you can. I don't know. I found it entertaining to watch and fairly easy to follow. But then again, there's always something to be said for tradition and seeing the standard top 32.
I don't.
Like that.
Tradition for me isn't a word that's important, but my biggest thing is, would you say for something like a high tech or a DCA is pretty good. I like the way it already runs because you get just so much fun track time, but something like a high tech that's at such a high cost, would you look at a D1 GP style where you run 2 competitions on the same weekend and call it 2 different competitions? So you got round 1 on Saturday and round 2 on Sunday and round 3 at the next round and round 4 on the same weekend at that next round? Or would you look at doing this sort of format to try and give everybody more seat time and more exposure through television or whatever your your thing might be.
Well, I mean, proof's in the pudding. It worked. Like, it was, it went pretty smoothly, and you saw plenty of drivers, plenty of track time compared to previous years, anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't think it affected the smoothness of the event because they just lined up for battles. Then the idea of the pool system was to get people to get more exposure,
Yeah, part of it,
and
and that.
yeah,
Yeah, and just that when they're going to pay for drivers to come that far, they wanted to get them in front of the cameras and
that's right. So I think
show the
that's
crowd a few more.
good, but to get the crowd involved, I really think you need the tables clearly visible or available if
yeah,
someone wants it, because otherwise it kind of gets boring.
because you don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
because if you're just sitting there watching drifting and you don't care about the outcome, you just sit there and watch it. If you want to sit there and get involved with how a driver's going, then you would want to know how they're compared to the other people in the group, and they need to be able to see that information.
yeah.
And so then they can get excited about it too, in two ways. So one's like, yeah, will they win this battle? And then if the other people in their pool also win or lose their battle, then they can sort of get involved in that way.
And then you can place bets on the pools
And lose.
yeah, and then I don't know. It's a good setup. It reminds me. Oh yeah, Rally used to run a similar setup, but there was also a funny setup that Stadium Drift used to run, where you'd have like A qualifiers and B qualifiers, and the bottom qualifiers would go in the B qualifier section, and then they'd battle off for the last two positions in the top 16. So the only problem with that is that the top 16 drivers didn't get much driving time when it came to that setup.
Yeah, and they did that a few years ago at World Time Attack, the year that Luke Broadbent did really well in the Safiro from down in South Australia. They did a top 16, bottom 16 thing, and he got his way into the top 16, and I think he ended up doing pretty well in that event. So they've done that before, but again, then your top guys don't get as much airtime or scene time. Like Nakamura probably would have qualified really well, and then everybody still would have only seen him a couple of times compared to your less strong guys, I guess you can say. So
I think
look,
I think it works for a high end. So when the drivers are very similar, so it doesn't matter where they arrive in the pool. So that you understand what I mean. So like if the skill levels
they all deserve to be there.
Yes, then that's fine. If there's a wide range, and say you get a group, because this is randomly pooled, where they're all really low skill drivers, so say like beginners, and then because they're all beginners, one of those guys gets through for that reason, then that doesn't really work out because they'll be up against someone that potentially could be really high. So it only work.
But what happens, say you adapted it for, say High Tech or DCA were to take on the format, and you did the first round of the season is a full random draw, and then every round after that, the same as the Soccer World Cup, each team is seeded, and then you put in to your pool based off your seedings, so that by winning events or winning pools and all that sort of stuff, sits in your favor moving forward.
So you'd have to start with I think the first round would have to be you wouldn't include the pools because otherwise you'd get bumped up just based on randomness.
Yeah, or you base it off the season prior.
I don't think you get bumped up. I mean, if you've gone through and won your pool, you've obviously got a bit of talent, you know.
Yeah, but it's like if have you ever seen, when you get the case of you get two shit drivers battling and then you go, oh, it doesn't matter who gets through because they're both shit and they're going to get knocked out in the next one. Well, it's that sort of thing. Like it's.
But honestly, my bigger concern would be, say at a high tech event, you end up with this current season, you end up with Bo Yates, Brad Toohey, Robert Barbolino, and Ben Mir all in the same pool, which is like some of your top 4 or 5 guys at the moment,
Yeah.
and they all end up in the same pool, then only one of them's going to make it out, and then other people get to walk to the top, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
That's the same sort of thing. That's why
yeah,
I think it won't work at the start, and there needs to be like a comp beforehand. Like these needs for this pool to work, I think they have to be all at a fairly similar level. They don't have to be the same, but like similar where there's like a benchmark and they're above it.
yeah. Damien said that the Jaeger system was similar to that. Not really in some respects, because you sort of had to battle your way into the next group, where you're still keeping this in that sort of linear format where each pool is totally separate to each other, and then they just meet in a tree rather than they make their way. Have to make your way all the way through the different groups. This is each group is separate, and then all gets put into the tree. So I think it's definitely a format that can be used. The other thing with this format is you need to have 32 cars. Without 32 cars, your format doesn't work.
Yeah, and
that's the hardest
I
part.
really think you need to have information for spectators available, like either a website or something.
Yeah, I think it's great for something like a World Time Attack, where you can restrict it, make it invite only, all that jazz. But I think for, say, a high tech or a DCA season, if you wanted to do more with it, then they should run 2 rounds at every weekend. So pump through a competition on the first day, pump through a competition on the second day. I think I would recommend that more for a high tech season, and I think that would give drivers better value for money. Where DCAs that less than half the price, and it just sort of, the vibe is different. You're not so much there for the comp, you're there for driving as hard as you can all the time, where high tech is about your professional driving, the competition, the appearance, all that sort of stuff. So I think for those guys, it would be ideal to do 2 competitions on a weekend if everybody's made that commitment to travel already, and then you're sort of giving all those guys more seat time with the numbers that they've currently got, which I think would be good. I think this format for now, until you either go back to a Drift Australia licensing format with 32 cars guaranteed, it's going to be hard to maintain. But I thought for World Time Attack, and maybe another one-off event a year, thought it was a really, really good format.
Yeah. Yes. There was something like, if you remember Stadium Drift, it was kind of similar. I'm not going to say it's the same, but they had the battle system where you have to get into the top 16, or you got put into the bottom 16, and it was battles. But I don't know how the battles worked out, because you didn't see. You just got told you 2 go together, or you 2 go together, and that's it.
Yeah. So I guess we'll quickly cover the battles through. So Prosnik and DeWar went against each other. I thought that was a cool battle to see. Proz's jumped. Proz's jumped into Aaron's car recently at a high tech round. Those cars are prepped out of the same shop. Very similar power plant, very similar chassis, and Proz took the win on that one. I think that was already in the wet at that stage. And then Brendan Greaves and Luke Fink went against each other. And I think Brendan ended up making a mistake behind Luke and spinning in that battle, if I remember correctly, or was that in that?
Yeah, this is one of those funny ones where they were rerun, these guys, because Greaves pulled up just a little. Well, it looked like he pulled up just a little bit after the concrete patch, and Luke went up onto the almost just straighten up onto the ripple strip. Which was actually really cool to see, because the next battle out in the rerun, you can see Luke actually prepare for that, pull back a lot before Greaves pulling up, and then as soon as he's finished doing that little weird maneuver, he just jumped back on the gas and got back up on the door. I thought they were pretty good battles, those two.
Yeah. And then Luke ended up taking that and moving on. And then Taniguchi was against Campaign. Rob, with his 13B 180, wanted to know in the YouTube chat if we think that Taniguchi tanked his battle because he's got had a flight to China. I can't
His
even
car,
remember that.
he spun.
Was that wet at that stage? I can't even remember.
I don't know how wet it was.
I think that was the greasiness.
It was, but like he should have been able to hold that. He just spun. His car was breaking down as well, so I don't know if he pushed it and then
He was also straightened. I think he was also straightening up in his chase as well. Like
he was.
wasn't able to, yeah.
But his car was, you could hear the car was just like breaking down. It wasn't actually. It would like push out and then straighten up and then he'd kick it again. I think it'd rev and then it'd break down. So I think, yeah.
So
I think it was a bit of
basically-
both. He shouldn't have.
So
He shouldn't have spun, but he might have been
Right.
expecting power to come on and it didn't, and that's why he
So he
spun.
might have actually been. He must have unplugged the spark plug or pulled some wiring off a coil pack so that it misfired so that he could catch his flight.
Probably.
Ah, damn, it's breaking down. Better go home. Got places to be. And then Nakamura against Levi Clark. I honestly can't remember this battle. I just know
Well,
Taniguchi-
Nakamura
was
just
all
like
over everybody.
smashed him. Yeah.
Yeah, there was like Levi Clark did nothing wrong. It was just
Yeah.
more that Naka just monstered him.
Yeah.
From memory, Naka entered earlier as well. Like they actually did a replay of it, and he came in already crossed up before Levi had even initiated. And then like Naka's transitions on those runs were actually insane as well. Like the speed that he could pull that car up in the wet in the chase is it seemed to defy physics a little bit. Yeah.
It seemed like there were two different levels of drivers. Like he was like another
there was-
step
there-
up.
There was,
and then,
there was a
yeah.
good driver, and then there was a completely retarded driver.
Oh
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say completely retarded, but
You telling me Nakamura is not completely retarded?
you mean in a good sense, right? I thought you
Yeah.
meant retarded bad, right? Gotcha.
Well, a little bit of both. The stories I heard from the DCA round that he went to at Rally, he was completely retarded.
He was pretty heavy on his car.
Yeah, and then did other things in other places too that he shouldn't have been.
And then he's driving up other people's cars as well. Like he
I
was
know, I heard he
actually
was doing
yeah.
I heard he was doing skids in the pits and stuff too.
How?
Or burnout in the pits. I don't know.
Oh,
something
exiting
like that.
on pit, exiting out, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Because the pits are gravel, by the way.
No, I'm very aware.
Yeah,
Or mud, depending on the weather.
yeah.
So yeah, Nakamura took that win.
And
So that led to Prosnik and Fink in the first of the top 4 battles. I think this was a balls to the wall battle. A few people have said that Luke intentionally tried to cut shallow on purpose on that inner clip number 3 coming up the hill. But I'm pretty sure both boys were just driving as hard as they could. Neither of them backed down an inch, and yeah, it seemed like there was good sportsmanship during that battle. We're just able to drive as hard as they could. Probably, I would say those two guys are probably Australia's 2 best drivers, and it was good to see them go head to head against each other.
I don't know. Can you guys see who's still watching? Is Fink still online?
He's on and off.
Oh no. Would have been good to see what his sort of version of it was, because it did look like from the sidelines he was pulling up as he left the concrete patch. It did look like he was pulling up a little bit for that inside clip up the hill. Yeah, but whether that's seeing something different or not, but
I thought he was doing the line that was asked from what I was seeing.
Was.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he was doing it
and,
accurately. So that's
yeah,
what I saw.
and Luke was one of the ones who straight away was like, the line you're giving us is crap. So he didn't like the line. He stuck to the line, and
Yeah.
he did a
Yeah, but
shout
that's what
out
you
on.
should do. You've got to do
Yeah,
what the
and he did
judges
it.
want. You can't just go, no, that's wrong, and do my own shit. You just do if
Yeah,
you're. Yeah.
and he did a post on Facebook and Instagram, basically commending Proz for the sportsmanship in that battle and just going as hard as he possibly could. So
But yeah,
that was
but they were both pushing hard against each other. It was a good battle to watch that one too.
yeah. And then on the other side was Nakamura and Dale Campaign, and I think this was a pretty clean battle. But yeah, Nakamura was just a man possessed.
Yeah. Still on that another level at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
end of the day.
Dale was clean,
So,
consistent as normal, and then Nakamura was
Yeah.
just like insane.
yeah,
I think one of the comments was while everyone seems to be aiming for like the B pillar on cars, Nakamura was always wheel to wheel. Like,
but they were told not. They were told not to be there though, in drivers'
Yeah,
briefing.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
really?
they tell you
told to be
one
an A
thing,
pillar.
and then
And then you go.
you do another. Yeah, and then you've just got to understand what the judges want. So what they say and what they actually want could be two different things.
So in the top 4 battle, Prosnik and Campaign, Prosnik led the first battle, the first run, and Dale ended up on the ripple strip on the inside before in a clip 3 again on the way up the hill, and that's when Dale split his rim, and you could hear it tinking its way
Yeah.
Yeah,
along.
broke a front end on it. Yeah.
And yeah, because of the no DB rule and all that sort of stuff, he wasn't allowed to fix it, and that was the end of the battle.
I
Prosnik,
thought that was a grey area. Hey, I don't think breaking the wheel counts as a DB though. That's
yeah, and well, there was basically no 5-minute rules unless it was the fault of the
The
other
chase.
car.
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
fair
the
enough,
other
yeah.
car.
Okay.
So, like in the case where the Ute went off the track and Nakamura was right in his door, they, Nakamura would have been able to fix the car, even though it was the lead car's fault. So it wasn't just times when the chase car plowed into the lead car. But yeah, that sort of finished on a bit of a boring note. And I know Prosnik wasn't all that impressed by how that ending the way it did. I think he wanted to battle it out properly.
So that's a Dal
and then-
Prosnik battle, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I don't know
Yeah.
if it was mentioned.
yeah. And then in the final was probably Australia's best driver, and most well-rounded driver, Luke Fink, against Nakamura, and yeah,
Yeah,
battle for
apparently
the ages.
Naka's rear end at that point was knackered. It was like he'd either bent or broke a.
Well,
you know?
he'd punched that right-hand side into the back of the Ute when the Ute went off track, because Nakamura just sat on his door even though he was driving off the track in the pool rounds. But I know Black Arts Fabrication is a great advocate for GK Tick rear ends. They advocate for them all the time and really push people to buy those products with their active alignment kits. So basically, yeah, Black Arts recommends that if you just bump off other cars and off other obstacles, that basically the car will live its own life and make up its own wheel alignment as you go. And yeah, the guys at that fabrication shop love it.
Looks like we just gotta say it's Chopper's favorite knuckle too. I think.
I thought I saw him
that's-
repair one.
That's right. That's what I'm talking about. Black Arts is Chop.
Yeah.
So
Alright.
Chop loves it. But yeah, I think overall super clean battle. Went to a one more time. No. Yes. I can't even remember.
I know we wanted to go one more time again, didn't we?
Yeah.
So there was one more time, and then we wanted to go for one more time after that.
Yeah.
Is this-
That's what I thought.
Pink versus Naka?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't there one more time?
No. My view of it, Naka was on him, on his chase, but when Fink went to chase, Naka sort of walked away from him from turn 2. So visually, it was it was Naka's win.
Yeah. But did it go to a rerun? I can't even remember.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. No, honestly, this was the longest weekend of my life.
Yeah,
So, yeah, look, I think if any driver comes back out again, I hope they just keep bringing Nakamura out. I think that will do wonders for Australian drifting purely because people have to keep pushing it as hard as they can.
oh yeah, 100%.
Who else do you think they should bring out?
I don't know, but I think whenever you've got somebody as good as Nakamura coming out, and not good in the the super professional stance, but he just doesn't give a fuck, and he just drives as hard and does all sorts of weird, crazy things, and I think that's what people here have to get over and just try and do. It's just that extra level of push, and just not caring and just trying to. It's not that he doesn't care about doing well, but he doesn't care about the consequences. I guess he just wants to drive hard and fast and do what he can. Where people here start to worry about consequences, and I'm not talking consequences like breaking a car. I'm talking consequences like, oh, I might spin or I might make a mistake. So who would I like to see out? Yeah, as Mitch said, I wouldn't mind seeing James Dean.
Yeah,
That would
that was going to be my suggestion next to.
But it was FD final weekend, so that's why you don't really see any of the guys from the US coming out for it. That's 2 years in a row that's been the same weekend as Formula Drift finals. So, yeah.
It's a good segue maybe into the next
Yeah.
topic. If there's anyone else.
Yeah.
Well, who would you bring out, Steve, besides James Dean?
Who else would I bring out?
Anyone. You can even pick multiple. Because this is all just, we can't afford to bring them out anyway.
Well,
So
they're my two picks would have been James Dean and Forrest Wang. The people, I don't know about any of the European drivers. None of them sort of stand out for me, so it'd have to be James Dean would be at the top of my list.
Oh, do you know who would have been nice to see across here? Would have been Mitch Lana, even if he was in the 34 that he's driving in D1 WA, because he's killing it in D1 WA, and it would have been good to see him over here as, I guess Australia's best overseas driver currently. He's the best performing guy in an international series, Australian driver in an international series, coming second at IDC. It would have been good to see him across, either in a car similar to what he's already in overseas, or even just his 34 would have been good to see him. So hopefully next year Mitch gets a drive, like World Time Attack makes some sort of, does something to get him across. Connor wants to see Adam LZ, so maybe Adam will bring his S15 in out once it's finished. You know what'd be funny if Adam LZ actually came out and brought his S15 and then walked a whole bunch of Aussies?
that'd be hilarious.
Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, he gets so much track time these days.
Yeah.
Actually, is the Driftworks A86 still a thing?
The what?
The Driftworks A86.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it still is.
Yeah, bring that out of her.
Yeah, that would be very cool. Yeah, that would be very, very cool. Yeah,
So
look, I don't
no Americans? Oh no, Forrest Wang was spoken, wasn't it?
Yeah, Forrest Wang.
But he's a little bit Australian as well, from what I heard.
Yeah. I think what would be... Yeah, I still think World Time Attack is a good format to keep doing the sort of bring a couple of D1 NZ guys over, put as many Aussies on display as you can, because everybody seems to sort of aim to make World Time Attack because it's, the biggest event that the Aussies get seen at. And then you only bring a couple of other guests from further abroad, so that I think that helps then hopefully push up the standard of Australian driving. So having somebody like a Nakamura here, if you want to take it to that next level, you've got to push as hard as somebody like that. Where if you then fill the whole field with overseas drivers and only put like your Bo Yates and Luke Fink in from Australia, then what are our guys aiming for? Like, if you want to take it, you want to, drift in Australia to that, I guess, next level, or or put a highlight on your career to say you've done something. Everybody aims for world time attack. If you take that opportunity away and restrict it even more heavily by bringing more and more people out from overseas, not that that'll ever happen because the event doesn't want to have to pay to bring out more cars, but yeah, I think you sort of rotate through some of your world's best drivers, and then yeah, I think
I just remember the name of the other driver I remembered. was Darren McNamara. He's a crazy Irish drifter.
Darren was actually supposed to come out last year with
really?
with the Audi, but I don't know what ever happened to the Audi.
I never even saw his Audi. I only know him because of the 86 as well.
Yeah, well, he drove the last round of IDC in a pretty ugly S13, so but he was building a crazy Audi, and I'd listened to a Maximum Driftcast podcast, and yeah, he was supposed to bring that out, but yeah, that never happened.
Yeah, he should have just brought the 86. He would be fine.
I think it'd be interesting to see some of the Russian guys and the guy on the R34. I don't even know what their names are.
The guy in the 34 would be very cool to see out here. He's very good.
So that guy, I can't think of any Americans actually.
Yeah, something like once Forsberg's got his car, sort of, something like a Forsberg would be good. Justin Pollock in the Mustang was very good this year, so something like him would be cool to see. But again,
Denofa, actually, Denofa's cool.
Ooh, yeah, Denofa, but he can still fang his car so that he doesn't run into walls that aren't on the track, and yeah, can do that. Yeah, that would definitely be cool. I don't think Denofa would care about results. I think he'd just be trying to stay his pin at where he can go.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's World Time Attack. Just look, another great event. You can see that overall over the weekend they had tightened up a little bit on a few things, just from the whole event side of things. I think they just sort of tried to tighten up the whole show. There's a few budget things look like they tightened up a little bit, but I think for the better in a lot of ways.
I think they had more TVs last time, didn't they? I swear that I could see more last
spots,
time.
Yeah. But I think they've tried to tighten up the event. They're a lot of years in now, and I think it doesn't always have the same impact. And the fact that the weather was a little bit shitty put a few people off.
Yeah, people left earlier, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it was good when we got there. The hill was so full.
Yeah, but even looking at the drift hill, it would be interesting to go through with a survey and see how many people on that hill were related to drifting in some way, shape, or form already, rather than people who came to watch drifting because they like drifting but weren't involved in the drift scene. Because like I was standing up the back of the area and I ended up speaking to Kelly Wong and a few other drivers. So there was a lot of drift related people around.
I know. I think all the people that were left were mostly associated to one of the drivers or the entrance, or had some sort of and they hung out for it, rather than someone who was just like, oh, this would be interesting, it's drifting, and then it rained, no, I'm going home. That's it. Just watch a live stream.
Do you know who I want to see there next year though? I want to see Chopper in his R33.
Me too.
He's gonna plow through people.
Yeah,
me too.
Maybe.
And I was really hoping that he'd make it through for this year.
Yeah, but maybe he just won't drive like such a flop at
DJ anymore. Drives the same but just wins because his driving style is awesome. But
he might bring the 180 DE. So.
Oh, if he drives the same, that's fine.
Yeah. It's just if you want entertainment, you got to get Chopper involved.
Yeah. And cut his brake lines, and that's it. That thing was crazy.
Disconnect him, whatever.
Yeah.
That's it. All right, so I think that's World Time Attack wrapped up, and I think the voice of God is going to dip out at this stage, if I'm correct.
That's me. I'm out. Thanks for joining. Let me join you guys again, boys.
Thanks for doing that, Steve.
Who's Chopper? Chopper is.
Damien knows who.
Chopper they know each other. They were in the same state before, so.
Yeah, they know each other.
Who's Chopper?
See you later, Morgan Freeman.
All right. Arrivederci.
I wonder if we get Blake on now.
Yeah, see, look, we got rid of all the bloody background noise that was coming with his place.
I know, it was so loud. It was the fans of his computer. I
Oh,
could hear it like
Jesus.
spin up and bloody nerd.
Luke wants to know if Shoulders gets in, will he remember to fill the tank? But Shoulders has said he's got a new S14 being built, so I think it's got an SR20 and Wisefab, if I remember correctly. Maybe a GTR rear end.
Okay.
Do you not get it?
Huh? I was blanked out.
Chopper lives in Queensland. He's building an S14. It has Wisefab and SR20. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Welcome to the party, mate.
Yeah.
Welcome to the party.
I'm sorry.
I
I thought we were avoiding that,
yeah,
so I just had it blanked out.
Nah, it's all good. Let's quickly go through Formula D final. Let's not spend too much time. I'm exhausted and yeah, a bit over it this week. Shoulders has already sold the Wisefab. Thanks, mate. I hope you got a good coin for it.
Probably $50. So how much of FD did you watch? I only watch from about top 8 onwards. I think I got back. Yeah, because I drove back on Saturday night and got back about 5 a.m. I think, or 4:30.
Yeah.
So I was asleep.
Yep, Oh shit! I didn't fall asleep. Just let me get my shit together. So I only watched the top 16 onwards, and James Dean ended up basically knocking himself out against Forrest Wang. He did a beautiful lead run, and then on his chase. So from my understanding,
the other thing was, this is the championship is riding on this, the results of this as well.
Yeah, so basically, if James made it past top 16, championship was his, done and dusted, no questions asked, he couldn't lose. And then what had happened earlier in the day, from my understanding, was that they had pulled the manifold off either before top 32 or after top 32 because there was a crack in his exhaust manifold, and when it had gone back on as the motor rocked on power, the screamer was getting caught up against the steering shaft, and it was stopping it from being smooth in the steering. So when he's gone to enter on throttle behind Forrest, he hasn't got onto as much angle as he wanted, and it quickly dipped down the bank, and he basically played catch up for the rest of the run. He had felt it. He said in an interview afterwards that he had felt it in his lead run, but he thought he could drive through it and regretted not calling 5 minutes afterwards. So then if basically on the other side of the tree, if Osbo won the event, he won the championship. If he didn't win the event, he didn't win the championship. And he ended up marching his way through to the finals and ended up losing in a rerun against Vaughan Gittin Jr. And Vaughan Gittin Jr.'s had the worst year that he's ever had in FD. And he finally gets his shit together in the final round and drives like a man possessed, takes the guy who's about to win another championship and steal a championship off a guy who's been pretty consistent all year, and manages to take him to a rerun and then beat him. I think it was 2 reruns, and then he beat him in the third battle. And yeah, crazy event. Absolutely crazy. Dale Campaign's just tuning. What have you missed? Oh, we spoke a whole lot of shit about you, mate. You got to go back and listen. We just dragged on you the whole time. So
that's a little bit true, by the way.
It's just surprising that a season of 6 rounds, 7 rounds, whatever FD's doing now, that it came down to that again. You sort of expect it to blow out at some stage through the season, right? That somebody just sort of marches on, or it ends up being a fight between a whole bunch of people because people have had a whole bunch of flop rounds, and a few people end up on similar points. But Yeah, shit. Yeah, crazy. 15 years of FD, and the final gets the championship gets decided in the final battle by a dude who's only missed one round because he rode off a car a couple of seasons ago and couldn't get it together for the final. And that dude who's had the worst year in his FD career manages to get his shit together and upset the dude who could have upset the guy who basically had a hand on the championship. So that's when it makes drifting cool and makes a competition exciting. It doesn't matter if you don't like the style of the event or the style of the track or whatever, just the drama that builds and the whole season builds around that. For it to come down to that, I think even EG could probably be a little bit excited about it.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just
It
a
was
little
it
bit.
was interesting actually, just seeing how close it was, but yeah, I'm not a fan of the course. Really, not a fan of the course. But yeah, you're right. The drama does make it interesting because you don't want someone to like leave everyone else behind, and especially having the championship decider as the final battle was really cool.
Yeah, I guess it brings up the question though. Do you think the judges throughout the season should be trying to avoid ever seeing a championship table and knowing any of that information? It's a bit hard when your commentators uh, are screaming it out over the loudspeaker, but the the decision made on that final, considering that they went
Do you think it was biased?
no, I don't think it was biased. I thought they actually ended up making the right call, but after the fact that the two prior battles were so tight and that they had to go to a third run, and I'm pretty sure that's the limit in FD rules. So after that point, they've got to make a decision anyway. And Osbo had made a big enough mistake that it was pretty obvious at that stage. But that leans a lot of pressure onto the judges. And if you can make up some sort of justification in your own head for a decision, you could swing either way to make the decision on who wins the championship.
If it was such a close battle.
Yeah, well, and that's what they could have done on the first two battles, considering they went to a rerun. When you go to a rerun, you can come up with, unless it's a 0-0 from two cars spinning, you can come up with some sort of justification in your head as to why somebody can win. But when you feel the decision's that
normally
close,
that's predefined. It has to be that close. But
no, I get that, and yeah, it was cool, but I'm just questioning. I don't think that decision was in any way, shape, or form biased. But when it comes down to a championship that close, it's just crazy to think.
It might be sitting in the back of the judges' minds. You mean?
Oh, for sure, it'd have to be. You would have to. Those guys would have been sweating bullets on trying to make a decision. The reason that I would imagine that they went to two more reruns is in just hope that one of the two cars would have fucked it up, and that's what ended up happening.
Yeah.
To make their decision easier.
Yeah.
So that they didn't have to make a decision. The driver who was trying to win that championship and the guy trying to block him from winning that championship made that decision for them.
As long as it was close enough, then, like if they're similar where you can't differentiate them or weight them differently, then that makes sense. But if you can obviously see if someone has a very clear advantage over someone else, then a rerun is called, then that's when it's a bit weird. But I didn't see that. That was a really close battle, and it was a pretty obvious mistake.
What was that? The two straightens?
When he hit the wall.
In the second run. Are you talking about the third battle? In the third battle, it was like that was clear as day for the final. But in the first two battles, there was give and take on mistakes from people, and I thought
because I think JR didn't get as much angle or as deep on the line as they wanted. I don't know the criteria. It just looked pretty close to me.
Yeah, but I don't think. But whenever JR dropped behind, he surged just so hard, and he sucked right up onto Osbo. And it wasn't Osbo's great lead that let him do that. He just sucked himself right up there, where Osbo's okay chases weren't because of Vaughan tapping walls and doing all sorts of weird shit. That was Osbo hanging back trying to conserve.
Yeah,
You could
I
have
think
searched up to try and put an exclamation mark on it.
the other straighten that I don't. Yeah, that was a bit weird. But you look, they played two different camera angles of that straighten, and one of
Yeah.
them it didn't seem as obvious as the other one.
Yeah.
Did you see
Yeah,
that?
and yeah, I think I remember.
Because I remember looking at it,
about.
and I think because when you look at it from the top down view, as in where the spectators are, it looks like he's gone straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then when
And
you
then
look on the other
and then-
view,
And the judges are in a box above that spectator view, but then I'm pretty sure they always go back and watch at least one replay. They'll always go back and review one replay
yeah,
to give them again like that better perspective from different angles, because again it can look totally different from different spots. So the only thing I don't like about and they did the switch back to the right as the last corner, the judges couldn't see anyway. Like there was just no visual for the crowd or for the judges. So that's basically why it's all left-handers now,
yeah,
so that you can actually see the run. Uh, and the only other way they could really work it is to turn the whole thing around and run it back the other way, so that then when they did the last transition, they come back towards the crowd. But because of the logistics of the way that track is built, with the walls designed to only run, it's only designed to be run anti-clockwise, like any other NASCAR oval, and where the cutouts in the wall are, you really can't do it. And if you run it the other way, it just upsets sort of the hot pit area and all that sort of stuff. So that's why I think they sort of stuck with that. But yeah, your favorite piece of information that you ended up finding out after the event was that no Americans were in the top 3.
yeah, that was funny. And the comment that the post that Kumakube made as well. But yeah, there was no Americans
I
in the
didn't
top
understand
3.
that. Can you? Yeah, can you follow on that?
So I can't remember it exactly, but the gist of it was that it was a really good event. It was fun. I'm probably going to miss out on a lot of stuff and not going to be able to not explain it as he
So was he at the
meeting.
event?
Yes, so it sounded like Kumakube was at the event. He really enjoyed it, and he said as like a statement that Japan is not the world leaders of drifting anymore, of competitions. Due to some reason, they've lagged behind. It's probably, it could be due to culture. Like Japan's a culture that doesn't embrace change very much, which is a good and bad thing. And that they need to get out more and sort of experience the rest of the drifting world.
Yeah.
He doesn't really blame anyone or anything, the DOS system. He says the DOS system is good, but it needs improvement. The things that he liked was the professionalism, the car builds, the event, like the atmosphere, and the driver skill. So everything was very high and impressed him a lot.
Yeah.
So he wants to go back and I'm not sure competing, but he said he also lost the Russian round as well. So
He did really well over in Russia, though.
did he? I didn't watch that.
Yeah, he did. He did really well on that S14 in Russia. So it'd be interesting. He's an older dude now, right? Like he's a pretty old dude.
I don't know how old
He'd
he
be
is.
He'd be well into his 40s though, wouldn't he? He was an older dude originally when he got into drifting.
I'd say he's in his 40s. Yeah.
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 It'd be interesting to see if he actually did a full program over there.
Where?
Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
A full program where?
Oh, in FD.
Oh, in America.
No, yeah, in America.
Okay. I don't think he would do very well.
Yeah, but it sounds. I guess he's been there. He'd been to Irwindale before because I'm guessing he would have done the Team One All Stars and all that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
it would be interesting to know what he thought from then till now. But again, like I guess that is him saying then till now that the US has accelerated forward. But the US fans in anything are just next level enthusiastic with stuff. So go to a Thursday night hockey game in the US and the fans are crazy. So drifting wouldn't be any different, where Japan's a little bit more polite with their approach to things, so not so in your face with cheering and all that. So
It's funny you
that's
say that,
maybe
yeah,
why.
because D1 wasn't. It peaked a long time ago, and it's just nowhere near that sort of atmosphere anymore. But yeah, having said that, I've been to the outside of a baseball game, and that was really loud, the cheering.
Yeah.
So I think they are capable of it. They just the fan base isn't there.
Right.
Yeah, there's no like because one thing I've sort of noticed just seeing the regular non-car people in Japan, they have no interest in cars and they just don't have any ideas about you. They just put cars just to get somewhere, just put fuel in it, and it's like, oh, you can play with them. It's like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And where I think the general public sees it slightly differently in America. I'm just going to say slightly because I haven't been to America, just assumption. So where it's a bit more accepted as a thing you do rather than transport. Transport.
That's fair. That's definitely fair to say that. Definitely, like cars are used in all sorts of off-roading, drifting, drag racing, circuit, time trial stuff. Yeah, they're sort of big enough population and car culture is accepted widely enough that all of it's okay.
Yeah.
Daryl from who drives the strawberry-faced S14 had a Strain Drift Club on the side of it for a little bit. Went over. I think this is Daryl's second time going over to an FD event. He did Evergreen last year in Seattle, and he went over for the final this year. And he said even the crowd was pumped for the Pro 2 Pro 2 comp. So I think people make the trek for that final round. Like I made a trek from Detroit over there for the year that I was over there. So
I think it'd be. I'm interested in going after reading Kumakovo's listening, because I can't actually read Japanese, but I could listen a little bit, so I had it read out to me.
you're fake, mate.
I am fake. But it does make me interested. I'm still not interested in Irwindale, but I probably think it's Road Atlanta and maybe Long Beach, because they look like, to me, they're drift courses. Like I can see a drift section.
I was in LA for Long Beach, and I decided not to go to it just because sitting in a spot you can't see the whole track, and I don't really like going to places I can't see the whole track. Long Beach, you sort of see them whiz past in one point, and then they come into sight, and then they disappear out of sight at the end. So I think because it's the first round, it's got that pump and that vibe. But I've been to Road Atlanta, and that's an amazing venue to watch drifting at, and the fans there are crazy.
Okay.
So, and we even got a streaker during the presentation, so that was cool too.
What's a streaker?
Yeah, he had undies on, but he was down to shoes and just undies, and he just legged it across the track and through the gravel trap and then jumped the fence and kept going.
Okay.
So that's the sort of level of things that the Americans do. So yeah, very cool. If you decide you want to go over, let me know, and we might make it a clutch kick trip.
I think we'd have to get sponsored if we're going to go, because I can't afford
Probably.
it.
Neither can I now. Anybody wants to sponsor a new drift car build, let me know.
See what happens, I guess. You never know what could happen. Hey, he's hoping that what's it? Is there still karma where things balance out?
Mate, I feel like I'm nice to a lot of people, and this year has just, honestly, guys, if you listen this late into this podcast, because I think we're almost about to wrap this up, 2018 can go and eat a fucking dick. Like dead set. 2018 can go fuck itself. So simple as that. But it's been good in some ways. Like we started the clutch kick and it's been good. And
Next
I
year
met
will be a
lots of
good year for you. I
people.
can feel it.
Ah, fuck, I hope so. Fuck, I
you
hope so.
get a nice a chassis of some sort with just a stock T28 knuckles and coilovers and exhaust, and you'll be drifting the whole year. Still not keeping up.
How is Luke saying 2018 is sick? 2018 has been shit. But yeah, chin's still up. Fuck the people that want to do dumb shit and profit off people's hard work. And yeah, that car might have been shit, Luke, but it would be nice to at least get it back so I can sell it for some parts to start paying for another one. So, and it'd be nice to have my fucking trailer. That would be fucking nice. At this stage, I can't have a car because I ain't got no fucking trailer. All right, we'll stop talking about this because I'm going to lose my shit at some stage.
Okay.
But yeah, so next week's episode, I haven't spoken to you yet about it. Michael Solomon is going to come on from the president of Drifting SA.
Okay. Well, I'm going to need photos if he's still
You
listening.
need... that's funny because I point at one direction that's different on your stream to mine.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully in the next couple of months, I got to catch up with Michael from DriftBit, and so a lot of time speaking to him, and there's a lot of things going on, and yeah, hopefully we get some info from him soon. He's working his ass off in the background. Anybody who's listened this late, a lot of people were questioning whether or not on the Kickstarter that people got their money back from it. We all got our money back. Anybody who invested has received their money back months ago. I think a lot of people thought that the product.
I don't think he even took it. No, he didn't even take it. You just pledged it, and that's it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's been no money handed across. So. Yeah. Don't stress on that. And. Yeah. So Michael was going to get on at some stage once. Hopefully he signed some more paperwork with some people. And yeah, he'll have big news hopefully off the back of that. He's definitely had exciting things going on, but a lot of stress for him too. So yeah, mate, Luke's saying that like giving me shit about my trailer. If I'm gonna buy another trailer, I'm buying exactly the same trailer because it's the only trailer that will work at my house, and I can fit. Simple as that. So yeah. But that's pretty much it.
Cool. Okay. So I guess that's it. I was hoping to hear from Blake, but I guess he's still at his work conference.
So
I
yeah,
think he's actually online now, but
that's all right.
it's too late, Blake. You missed out.
I like how Luke's still putting shit on me. My house is shit because I still live at home because I spend too much money on a drift car, and I'm about to be at home even longer because I'm about to spend more money on a drift car. So, yeah. Or I won't skid for a while. We'll see what happens.
No, you can skid. I'll find you a car. Actually, I'll feed you a car.
Yeah, we're building the clutch kick monster. It's gonna. I think I'm down for this plan. What the power plan is, we'll have to wait and see.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, in your clutch kick monster.
Yeah, okay. Oops, hang on.
No, I think we keep it as it is.
Nah.
Really? Is it tired?
No, I don't think so. I think it just needs.
Chops drove that sort of setup at QR Matsuri.
Yeah, but our local's Wakefield.
I don't get your point.
It's uphill. It's not flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just needs a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see. We have options. Actually, a 30E would be alright. I think it'd be better.
Put an anchor in the front of it.
So.
Nah. Whoa, CA18E. Jesus, could you imagine how slow that piece of shit would be?
I have a Sierra 18D.
Nah. Sean Powers just wants a single cam.
Oh. That'd be rare as.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably doesn't break though. EG's selling a manual R31.
I am.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want it. Probably want drug money for it anyway.
I want. So what I want, the bottom price is $1,200.
I don't want too much, mate.
No, it's not. It's a 31 manual. They're like $3,000.
I'll give you $12 and a packet of gum and maybe some cigarettes. I got no cigarettes, so that's going to cost me way more than I was offered. But
No.
nah, I don't want an R31. So yeah, we'll wait and see. Look,
Probably
fingers
31
crossed my
is your
car's-
level, actually.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping my piece of shit shows up.
Yeah, me too.
Me 3. Yep, hopefully we'll have more info for you guys next week. It's killing me. It's killing me. But yeah, so next week we'll see Michael. R31 is the Archie special, and no one will steal it. I wouldn't put any guarantees on that.
That's probably
No.
one of the easiest cars to steal.
Hey, yeah, come on. There was parts taken from an R31 there anyway, so yeah, nah. All right, let's.
Oh,
let's
good.
shut this
We'll have
thing down
to
before I see.
chat with Blake another time. Sorry, you missed out,
Yeah.
Blake.
Yeah, too busy double fisting his soft serves and his party pies.
Don't forget about Revolution Day. It should be a very big day, I think. If anyone is still listening, should be
Yeah.
fun.
I forget now that daylight saving started, all the bloody Queenslanders are an hour behind. So just remember we start at 7 o'clock Queensland time.
And there is a trailer down here that you can probably use as well.
Yeah, I've been offered cars and trailers and all sorts of
Oh,
things,
that's
so
right. Yeah, I remember.
I'll see what I decide to do. I'll probably come down, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, bring a car, and we'll make use of the car.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. I think that's us signing off. We can't do the clap because we're on different sides of each other's
Oh, I'd be
streams.
like, oh no, that doesn't
Yeah,
even
we'd
work.
have to be like this,
Yeah.
and we're only.
Yeah, it looks super weird.
Yeah, it would look very weird. All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay, see you. Oh, that's not it.